All right, good evening and welcome, everyone. Before we begin the proceedings of our board meeting, I would like to highlight our safety protocols and expectations. Due to CDC guidance placing Kent County in the substantial risk category for transmission of the COVID-19 Delta variant, we are requiring masks indoors for anyone on the grounds of GRPS property for all students, staff, and visitors, regardless of vaccination status. Public comment cards and meeting agendas are located on the tables within the board chambers at both entrances. Once you fill out a comment card, please submit this in the drop box located next to the public comment cards. Our board assistant will collect the cards when I call for public comment and deliver them to our board secretary, Mrs. Lewis. I will call on each individual one at a time to address the board at the presentation table during the allotted public comment period on the agenda. Registration for members of the public attending the meeting electronically closed 30 minutes prior to the start of this meeting. Registered individuals will be invited in one at a time by our virtual meeting host to provide comments under the same rules. On behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Ledrian Roby, and the Board of Education, thank you for being here in attendance with us. Mr. Ross, welcome. May I ask you to read your statement, please?
Yes, board members, please have the minutes reflect that I'm attending today's meeting remotely due to a medical condition. But I am currently located in Kent County, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And members of the public attending the meeting electronically will be able to provide public comment in the manner outlined in the meeting notice.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. With that, I will call this meeting of the Grand Rapids Public Schools Board of Education to order. Today is Monday, December 6th. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'd like to take just a moment to center ourselves, as these are somber days as we reflect on the devastating events at Oxford Public Schools. And I'd like to read a statement. On behalf of the Grand Rapids Board of Education, Grand Rapids Public Schools, and all our students and staff, we extend our deepest condolences to the Oxford Public Schools community. The senseless act that occurred on November 30 is the worst possible tragedy that any community could experience, one that continues to impact schools and communities throughout our state and nation. We want to assure our students and families that our teachers here in Grand Rapids Public Schools, our school leaders, and our support staff are among some of the best trained in the state. We frequently conduct trainings, lockdown drills, and review our critical incident crisis management operational response plan. The safety of our students, staff, and visitors is always a top priority for Grand Rapids Public Schools, and we remain deeply committed to maintaining a safe and secure environment for teaching and learning. We take all threats very seriously, and we work closely with our public safety department and local law enforcement agencies to ensure that all threats are thoroughly investigated and appropriate action taken in accordance with our student policy handbook and all applicable laws. If any students, parents, or staff, or community members have any information regarding threats or acts of violence towards students, staff, or schools, they should report it immediately to the school and/or the Grand Rapids Police Department. For those who wish to remain anonymous, they may always contact Silent Observer or OK to Say. And with that, I'd just like to take a moment of silence to reflect and honor those in Oxford. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Lewis, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Davis?
Here.
Dr. Flores?
Present.
Ms. Grant? Here. Ms. Lewis is here. Reverend Matias?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Present.
Mrs. Williams?
Present.
Dr. Baker?
Here.
President Shockey?
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. May I please have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to our celebrations this evening. Dr. Roby.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to bring forward Executive Director Mr. Larry Johnson and Director Mr. Philip Green to talk about the Employee of the Year related to school nutrition. So please come on forward.
Good evening, President Shockey, Superintendent Roby, and other distinguished board members. I'd like to introduce Philip Green, who is our Director of Food Nutrition Services, who will introduce one of our employees that was recognized as Employee of the Year, one of our dedicated food service workers at Westwood Middle School.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Board, for this opportunity. Again, as Mr. Johnson said, I'm Philip Green, Director of Food Services. I would like to introduce to my left here Ms. Robin Bishke, who is going into her 21st year with the district. She is our food service manager at Westwood Middle School. And on November the 13th, I believe, that Saturday, at the School Nutrition Association of Michigan annual conference, she was recognized as the 2021 Employee of the Year.
Excellent.
Well, she doesn't want to say anything, but just a couple quick notes. She has done a great job over at Westwood. She has a great relationship with the kids, as well as a great relationship with the principal, which I think creates a great environment for the kids every day for breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, you provide such a critical service to our students. Thank you so much for your commitment to our students in Grand Rapids Public Schools. Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
I do want to do a photo.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you mind coming out from
Sure.
behind? And if you want to move right up here, and Renee, we'll take just a few quick seconds. We'll pose for a photo. And then Renee's in charge of you from here on out.
But you're hiding now, so.
Yeah, that was a good trick.
Yeah. No, perfect. You can still smile even though. Perfect.
Additional celebrations that we have. I'm going to invite Mr. Eric Harmson and Maggie Malone to come forward to talk about the board holiday e-card.
Good evening, President Schottky, Dr. Roby, and distinguished board members. It is my pleasure to introduce the holiday e-card this year. It's a testament to the skills and creativity of our scholars, the expertise of our teachers, and the fantastic leadership of Maggie Malone, our Director of Fine Arts and Shared Time. You will be able to see the beautiful artwork and music, and I'll turn it over to Maggie.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much, Dr. Roby, President Shockey, and members of the board. It's very exciting to be before you today to bring you a card that is made by our students this year. I know last year we had our staff come forward and bring some work, so we're excited to get back to 100% student participation on the card, and I think you're gonna really love it. We have works from several different grade levels, several different schools. We have the music that was done and produced by quite students. Karen Brady, one of our awesome art teachers, put the artwork together and produced the video. And Deb Perry, one of our awesome music teachers, produced the music and that you're gonna see today. So really excited for you to see when Craig starts it. Here we go. It's So hopefully we did you proud this year. I know I'm feeling really proud of our team and all of our students. And just to let you know, we created a customized certificate that Dr. Roby signed, and every student whose work was selected will be receiving that from their art teacher today or tomorrow. So just want to celebrate GRPS and thank you again for this awesome opportunity for our students.
Thank you so much.
Before you go, because I know I want to make sure that we celebrate also Mrs. Deb Perry. Deb, do you want to stand up? She is, yes. For those of you who may not know, Deb has been in our district for many, many, many years. She is a phenomenal music teacher as well as a mentor to all of our new teachers. And recently she was awarded the Grand Rapids Area Black Business for her music studio, Joint Air Music Studio. So again, she is a very accomplished teacher, musician, and leader, and we just are very proud of you and glad that you are Team GRPS.
Woo!
All right, thank you. Moving on to one of my favorite parts of the board meeting, our reports from our student reps. All right, Mr. Chisholm, may we begin with you this evening?
Yeah, so at our last student council advisory meeting, we had the opportunity to review our prior feedback on the social and emotional ESSER funds and ESSER programs. So we had the opportunity to kind of go back over a lot of our feedback and a lot of our suggestions over that and kind of flesh that out more. And then we also were able to review the student handbook, kind of give criticisms and feedback on that, and kind of talk about the presentation, the content, and things like that. And yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Ms. Cruz Calderon.
Good afternoon. So we are planning, most seniors are planning to participate on the university meeting through Zoom. Is it this Thursday? This Thursday, sorry.
Thursday.
This Thursday. And for our next board meeting, we're actually planning to give back to the community and help out at the kids' food basket. So that will be next Wednesday? I don't
Wednesday,
remember.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, thank you. Next Wednesday. And I saw through a lot of the students' feedback that they really appreciated the day off on Friday. A lot of people took that day to relax, go on vacation even. A lot of people said they went down to Chicago or they even caught up on work. So that helped a lot of students out and it was really appreciated. And a lot of teachers benefited from it too, so thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for your reports this evening. All right, next we have public comment for board agenda items. Don't see any. Nope, very good. Okay, we will move on to our reports. First, we have our secretary's report.
Yes, this is a reminder that the Policy Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, December 15th at 5:30 in room 101 of the Franklin Campus Administration Building.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Next are our committee chair updates. Finance Committee, Reverend Matias.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
I was there and I am too. Well, we have the purchasing agenda later on, so yeah.
Yes, it was the purchasing agenda.
Yeah, all right.
We'll get to it.
We'll move forward to that part of the agenda in just a moment, no worries. Academic achievement, Ms. Davis.
Okay, so we had our instructional council update, and there is a pilot course right now at Union, Spanish for Spanish speakers. It's a year-long course. It provides an opportunity to test out at the end of the year, and it will be brought to other schools in the fall. There's a possibility of that. Through the pilot, they've also started exploring a need for a writing course for ELL students. We had a presentation on the transition to college math pilot that right now is at Union. There was a grant that GRCC applied for, and part of the requirement of this was to work on a course that's a transition course for those that are not college ready by the end of their junior year, which 90% of our students place in a developmental math course when they go to GRCC. So the goal of this course is to lower that number. It has a focus on three key areas: math, reasoning, academic content, and social emotional development skills. So some examples of the math reasoning are problem-solving strategies, communication and collaboration, and self-awareness. I found it interesting for the social emotional development skills. Each unit has those woven into it. So students will be learning about different strategies that they would teach at a college success center. And there will be a continued partnership with GRCC where they will have student panels, faculty guest speakers, and field trips to the campus. And then we also had a teacher evaluation update. They are reducing the number of evaluations for those teachers who have been effective or highly effective for the last 2 years. They will get observed one time instead of two. And this will allow evaluators to give more support to new teachers, to those teachers in their first 2 years at Grand Rapids Public, and to those that had less than an effective evaluation in the last 2 years. Those teachers who have had 3 years being highly effective do not need to be evaluated. And then for 2020, 2021, there were 0 ineffective teachers, 7 minimally effective, 385 effective, and 432 highly effective. Student growth is still at 40%, and although we are always pushing for that to be lowered, and Eric Carmson does training for the evaluators, but an outside entity certifies those evaluators. There are 9 new evaluators this year, and 16 evaluators are in their first 3 years, so that training is important.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Davis. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's reports. Dr. Roby.
All right, good evening again. Just a couple of reminders for all of our community and staff. We are closing in on our winter break. Our last day of school will be December 17th. The district offices will be closed December 24th and through December 31st. Let me make sure I have all the information correct. And then we also will have intersession school. Let me go back to this. No school December 20th through December 31st, and school will resume on Monday, January 3rd, 2022. Loop also will end on December 17th and will resume after the winter break. Our district office hours for the Franklin campus will be December 17th, 8 a.m. through 3 p.m., and it'll be open until that December Eve, and then we'll be closed that next week. Intercession school. So this year we're trying something new as far as intercession, and so to kind of help support our scholars, we are offering additional courses during the week of winter break. 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, the first week of winter break, and 3 days the second week of winter break. And that, again, allows for those remedial supports. As we know that the last year and a half have not been traditional school years, and we have approximately 120 K through 8th grade students who are registered for intercession. We have 13 staff members, and then we also are offering courses for our high school students to do credit recovery and get some additional support. And again, this is one of our interventions, tier 2 interventions, as the last year and a half have not been as great as we would have liked for instruction, and we're trying to provide some extra supports. Families that are still interested in signing up for intercession can do so through tonight. And so if you are having difficulty, please reach out to your child's teacher, and we will make sure that we get you registered for that. Let's see. Masking. All right, so I want to make sure I get my talking points together. We want to take this opportunity to provide an update regarding COVID-19 data, the mask survey results, and the decision regarding masks. As you recall, this past November, we sent a communication to all of our students, families, and staff sharing our COVID data, vaccine information, and asking for input on the mask mandate. The following are the results from the survey. There were a total of 2,074 respondents, 510 of them were employees, 1,294 were parents, and 335 were students. 68% support for continuing our mask mandate after beginning in January. 23% prefer that masks be recommended but not required, and 9% said other. I want to emphasize that the survey was simply to gauge opinions on the mask mandate. Again, we are committed to gauging our families and our community's voice. We are still using science, data, the guidance from the health departments to drive our decision-making. We will continue to update the COVID-19 metrics dashboard on a weekly basis at www.grps.org. Our latest data results show that our positivity rate for Kent County is 23%, which puts us at the highest risk level. The goal is to be at the low risk level with a positivity rate, of less than 5%. County incidence per 100,000 is 441.9 cases and per 1,000 at the highest risk level. And again, the goal is to be around 9 cases per 100,000. The vaccination rate for our county is 60.3% for fully vaccinated countywide. The goal is to be at 70%. Based on the latest data, science, and guidance from our Kent County Health Department, we will be extending the GRPS pre-K through 12 mask mandate for all students, staff, and visitors until the end of the school year. We will continue to monitor the data. If the data level shifts to a low risk, we will consider a new decision at that time. I also want to take the opportunity for 2 important reminders. First, the COVID-19 vaccine is authorized and available for children ages 5 through 11 and older. Evidence has demonstrated that communities with higher vaccination rates have lower transmission of COVID-19. Parents can still schedule vaccinations for their children by visiting www.vaccinatewestmichigan.com or contacting your healthcare provider or visiting a local pharmacy. And the second reminder is to keep students home if they are symptomatic. Our parents, guardians, please keep your students at home if they're showing one or more of the following symptoms, regardless of their vaccination status. And this is really important because we are in flu season, and I know that it's sometimes hard to distinguish, but this is coming from our healthcare professionals. Fever, new cough or change in cough, shortness of breath, new loss or taste of smell, sore throat, body aches, diarrhea, vomiting, or nausea, severe headaches, extreme tiredness, congestion, or runny nose. And again, I want to direct people to the GRPS COVID-19 Parent Handbook on our website under the coronavirus's resources. Again, just thank you everyone for your continued patience. We will make sure that we also send out a communication to all of our families. We wanted to get some information so people could plan for what the January 22 would look like for us, and we will make sure that we share that information. May I address any questions from our board?
Thank you, Dr. Roby.
Okay, and I got a couple more things under superintendent's business. All right, I'm going to bring up Mr. Mel Atkins. He is going to provide our data around our discipline for behavior incidents as well as bullying. And Mr. Atkins, welcome.
Thank you. Just let me get this set up real quick. Good evening, President Shockey, Dr. Roby, members of the board. Today, I am going to present on discipline data for marking period 1 for this school year and the previous 2 school years. And how you're going to read the report and how the audience is going to see the reports broken down by K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12 in those categories. And so knowing that, and I'm going to really compare 2019-20 school year compared to a market period 1 compared to 2021-22 school year. And the reason why is just because of the instructional model that we used during this time in 2020-21, my students were at home. And so that data is not an apples to apples comparison, but I did include that information. And so the number of discipline incidents during the market period 1, the current year, we have 223 suspensions. We compared to 1920 of 468. So that's roughly a 52% reduction in suspensions when you look at those previous 2 years. And then no K5 students were expelled this time. Expulsions are removal from school for 60 or more days, but we had no expulsions during any of those 3 years. And then the percent of bullying. So you look at bullying, when you look at the number of discipline incidents, we looked at either the word bullying or was it categorized as bullying. It's roughly the same. It was 2.2% and 2.5%. So out of those 223 suspensions, about 2.5% of those were bullying related. The data that is alarming on this, if you look at the right of the chart, is saying that 31% of our students are in K5 are made up of African American students, but they make up 60% of our suspensions. And so we know this is an area of growth of needed support with that. And compare it to Hispanic, it's 39% of our students are Hispanic in K5. They make up 14% of our suspensions, and you see two or more races than white. And then at the note at the top, it is 88% of our K-5 suspensions were males in 21-22. And so that's a data point that, that we're looking at as well.
Before you go on, I just want to make this point. And so as we are starting, and this is kind of conversation around looking at our data, we are starting to begin to peel back and say, okay, why are we seeing this? Where are we seeing this? And so this captures this moment in time where we are in comparison to 2 school years ago at this point. But then the next step is to kind of do that why. Why are we seeing this? Where are we seeing this? And then to start having some conversations, not only just at our, within our district, but then also at school levels, because I think it's very important to include building leaders and those who are most closely related to this data.
Thank you. And then you look at grades 6 through 8th, the same view of it. It's saying that the number 6 to 8 suspensions did decrease also from marking period 1, comparing the last 2 full school marking periods. 369 suspensions this year compared to 483 in 1920. There was 1 expulsion in 1920 with none this year. And then really in the bullying incidences are roughly the same with 3.3 and 3.5%. The same pattern does exist though when you look at distribution of suspensions by ethnicity. 32% of the students in 6-8 are African American students. They make up 60% of the suspensions, so very similar to what we saw in K-5. And then Hispanic is 38% of the students in 6-8 are Hispanic, and they make up 18% of the suspensions. In the elementary level, I believe you say 88% of the suspensions were males. At the middle school level, it dips a little bit, but it's still too high. 69% of the suspensions were males so far in 21-22. Now looking at the high school levels, 9-12, you see it's data's a little bit different. This time it's relatively flat. When you see there's 353 suspensions this year so far in market period 1 compared to 362 in 1920. The bullying related incidences did go down from 4.7 to 1.1. The disproportionality is still there though. The disproportionality of 33% of the students in 9-12 are African American, but they make up 65% of the suspensions. And then you see the 40% of the students in 9-12 are Hispanic, and they make up 21% of the suspensions. And this time, it's a little bit closer to 50-50, but 52 part of the suspensions were males in 9-12, compared to what you saw in K-5 and 6-8 with that. And so just to remind, I don't remember if I said this or not, market period 1 makes up the first 9 weeks of the school year. And so usually we look at this all the time, but usually we do these kind of big reports, market period 1, semester 1's over, market period 3, semester, end of the year. But we look at this probably on a daily basis. Questions?
So how is it being addressed? What specific things are you doing? And are there any schools associated? So is it Union? Is it Ottawa? Is it what?
I wouldn't say it's a one particular school. Is we do know that even before the pandemic hit, that this was an area of we were trying to address. And so some of this does with our social emotional learning work. I know we talked recently in November with the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, trying to come up, get student voice around mental health support, what's needed. Some of this is we have started, or not started, but continue to look at our data through different protocols, data dialogues, either at the cabinet level or at the building level. And so I don't think there's a one quick fix to this, but there is trying to really understand what's going on, at the building level, because this data just tells you when this happens that something's going on. What supports that we need. We've added We know we're trying to fill it now, some additional mental health, like general ed social workers, we've added to the budget through ESSER funds. We've done that. Some mental health providers, the KSSN supports, things of that nature, and really trying to get to the root cause of the why. Some of it is professional development, for our staff. You definitely don't want to put it all on students. It's just a combination. It is a tough time. We know that being away from the traditional school setting for so long does have impacts, and we're trying to work through them now.
My question is with regards to kind of, John, now that we have this data, is there some preliminary steps that are going to be taken to try to impact these numbers with regards to the next marking period? So have you already rolled out some plans in that regard so that we can see if some of the things that you're trying to do to have impact, if they are working?
So one of it, I would just say, and maybe I'll look for Dr. Roby, our assistance on this one, is I know what we did last Friday on December 3rd, and then also coming up on December 10th is just the wellness days was one of them for our students and for our staff, though. It was very, very important to do that step. We are, I think we've talked about it before, we are in the process of trying to develop more comprehensive approaches to around social emotional learning, give people alternatives to suspensions and things of that nature. But we know it begins with culture. Culture is trumps kind of any strategy that you can come up with, and so that's one of the biggest pieces that I can think of.
Related to that, some specifics, we've talked about within each, so our Student Advisory Council talked about different ideas related to how do we do positive school climate and also kind of reteaching. And so we know that we're going to have to do some direct reteaching of this is how we do school. And at the beginning of the year, that's a great opportunity because you can set new goals and say, this is how we do school, reminder of rules and expectations, and then co-creating that. Our students were giving us ideas on where you're going to sit day, and that may be kind of like moving kids around where you get to meet different kids that you wouldn't normally talk to. And they also talked about some other positive incentives that we haven't fleshed out completely, but ideas around kind of a student conference day where they get to do things within their school community part of the day or an hour of the school day to, again, to reset and kind of restructure. Our seniors, juniors and seniors, they were very open and they said for the underclassmen, they don't know them. And so because this is the first time that everybody's been together in a little bit of time, they want to be able to get to know each other. And then talking about and partnering with, and I don't want to call this program because I don't know if this is the program, but Be Nice as an example, where some of those simple social graces of holding the door or when you walk in a hallway, working to have those interactions with kids and just kind of, again, that direct teaching of some of those skills that we have probably taken for granted. And so those are some ideas that we came up with. And our work is this next semester is how do we make sure that they're implemented, and then also working very closely with those school leaders, because it shouldn't just come from that small nucleus of kids that we are working with, but then also kind of how do we distribute that back out. So as they are working with their school and site level leadership of students to have some opportunities to do some of those kind of community building and positive culture building activities.
I would add too, if I could jump in real quick, around the strategic planning that's happening now. We know we extended the deadline a little bit, but through this month, December and January, I know there's a full report going to come to the board, I believe, in early February, and some of this work is coming through that as well.
And is there kind of some plan with regards to the culture and reteaching to kind of do a whole 360 approach with engaging the parent and guardians and that as well?
Yes, we know with everything we do, we have to include the family, or the caregiver. That has to be a component of it, and that will be.
So like a direct academy, I think is what you're asking for. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, for example, is it gang related? I don't see females. What's the percentage of females that are bullying? Is it just bullying, or is
No,
it
no,
because
so-
that's too generic?
Yeah, so you see the bullying incidences are really low. You see up here, the high school level is just over, it's like 1.1%. So most of it's not bullying. The top violations are fighting, physical aggression, disruptive behavior, and insubordination were the top four out of those. And sometimes, you may get insubordination and physical aggression at the same time. And so we're trying to, it's just, trying to understand where, unpacking it, we try to figure out location, time of day, days of the week. Is it connected to, any staffing, anything like that? We're trying to figure out, are there some quick wins that we can get out of it, but at the same time meeting the students' needs.
Yeah, it's just very generic, the data that you're giving. And so now you started to unpack some of that. It's aggression, it's insubordination. And with that, you obviously can have some answers. So how do you teach young people that? And whatever the school climate is that you're
Yeah,
trying to produce.
it's different schools that have, I don't want to paint the picture, everyone has, like you said, type violation is fighting. And then so we're working, with the schools or, the students or, even the staff members, on those pieces. So it looks different at each area. And so I tried to keep the data somewhat at a 30,000 foot level, because if you dip too low, you really get into the weeds, and I think that's a different conversation for another day. We definitely can have it, but I just wanted to keep it at this level at this point.
So we do have the data by building,
Yep.
and we've talked about with the buildings that had higher incidents to work more closely with that particular leadership to find out what are they noticing and working with them. But for the report, for purposes of this report, it was just kind of a high level kind of overview, but we do have the types of incidents
Everything.
categorized for each building.
Everything.
Great, thank you.
So a couple things. I think that first of all, I feel like there's a lot being left unsaid about this conversation, but I really appreciate this data because it does reiterate a common concern that's been true since I've gotten on the board. So this data looks very similar. I think that I do hear that there are discipline problems in some schools more so than others, and that it's making teaching difficult. And but so far the conversation has been mostly engaged around the behavior of students, and I think that we also have to think about one issue is that I hear is that a lot of staff feel overwhelmed in the capacity to teach and to manage classrooms at the same time. That's something that we have to figure out a way to address. And secondly is the perceptions around race. And, I think that I know that that's a conversation that we're having at multiple levels in this district, but there are, multiple levels of addressing the problem instead of just student behavior. But certainly more staff and more innovative ways to, make sure that we have safe classrooms is the conversation. So, I just didn't want to leave that unsaid as it was.
I'm just wondering, do we have anything like an in-school suspension so that kids did something wrong, so the next day they are suspended, but they stay in school with a tutor or a teacher with them? So
I know Alger has it, but other than that, I don't believe another school. Ottawa used to have it. I have to look at Mr. Lewis at the top of my head. But other than that, not at this time.
I have a question. So as we have this data, I know early on in the conversation with the ESSER funds, we talked about some counseling needs and things. And now that we have this data, I wonder if we're able to return back to that conversation and maybe looking at the locations that are having a lot of these issues can place priority on some of those things. I know there's been a counseling shortage, but maybe if there's really a priority for a few buildings, providing some more support, or even that support that Dr. Baker was talking about, classroom support, things like that. But I also think in some of these cases, like you said, it's hard to return back to the classroom after you've been gone for a year and just go back to business as usual. So I wonder on our culture end if we're allowing some flexibility in the way, and we've talked about this even before COVID. Not all kids learn the same way. Teaching styles, how do we provide space for creativity and things, but are we really, and it's a hard conversation to have because teachers are just getting back in the classroom and there's a lot going on. But when we're looking at students who may be expressing not just frustrations, but like loss of learning and other things, like are we providing some outlets to maybe not just go back to business as usual, but reevaluate some ways that we can provide flexibility for students and staff? So that's not a question that I expect an answer for, but I'm just saying hopefully we can look at the problem, but really have a solution to problems that we've had for a while.
Yeah, that's kind of my wondering, and related to what Ms. Williams said about what are our short-term intercessions, and if I can use that term that Dr. Roby has with an immediate intercession for addressing academic loss. This seems to be a very high priority. So my wondering is, what do you have planned or in terms of process to address these priority issues with discipline, which seem to be, very urgent?
Right now, we're trying to, starting with the high school level, is follow up on what we heard from our students in November. They had a lot of great ideas around, I think Dr. Roby said a few of them, around like a mental health kind of day where they still come to school, but they would have like different options to pick from around supports and things of that nature, but they would have more ownership in what that looks like is one. We talked around some of the seniors not knowing, the freshmen and sophomores, and really taking mentorships and things of that nature, because it's really starting with, kind of under the umbrella is the culture building. It's because you may take a sixth grader. This is their first time in that particular building, and it's really their first time really in school in a significant amount of time, and so it just looks differently, and the behaviors are coming. We recognize the behaviors are coming out differently, and so that's some at the high school level. The other levels, what we're doing right now is with the ESSER funds, where we have posted for, like I said, general ed social workers, mental health positions that we're trying to, we looked at who already has either health clinics. We have KSSN in 14 of our sites, and we looked at who didn't have supports. And so we've added supports at almost every school now. We have to find the people, to fill it. So that's the hard piece that's coming now. So we're trying to really get to the root cause of it. And then other ones, are more of continue to work with the executive directors over each of the divisions, and offer either professional development individually at a building or collectively as a system.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that this is a priority area for us in the strategic plan. And so I know this is a snapshot in time, but we will be able to come back to this data. And I really appreciate that is, I think, a practice that we're really getting to the habit of being willing to look at where we need to make these improvements and systematically create those new processes. So thank you very much, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. And so I'm going to ask our retired executive director, Ms. Sharon Pitts, to come forward, and she's going to do a presentation around our annual nepotism data report. This is something that we do as part of board policies, and it's once annually every year along with staff advisory. And so Ms. Pitts.
Probably once a working retired people too hard policy.
I agree with that. Am I good, Craig? Okay, let's just get on there. Okay. And then, do I have to use this, or can I click here? Okay, great, thanks. All right, good evening, Ms. Shockey, Board President, board members, and Superintendent Roby. I'm here to give you an interim and very preliminary report on our nepotism policy implementation. So I just want to reiterate, this is just stage one. We have not finished, but I just want to remind you of the policy, and the members of the audience also, that we have to disclose our relatives, not just relatives of other staff members, but also relatives of the board. That employees are required to do that every year, and that we have begun implementing that process once we got back to school this year. And we usually wait until October because we want to make sure that the staff is kind of settled down, and around our count day, everything is kind of settled. So that's why, if you want to know why, it's a little bit later in the year. So, okay. So just to remind you of the definitions of who are our relatives, and you can see them up there. You know, anyone that you would think that would be close. The other one is anyone living in your household, even if they're not your relative, your blood relative, and any employee who you're having an intimate relationship with. Let's see. Okay, so here's the process. We're required to disclose the information. We give employees a 30-day window to do that. They receive emails, constant emails. You'll see the first one goes out, then 15 days before the due date, we remind employees. And then after the due date, then we send employees another email, and we copy their supervisor. So that's the stage that we're in right now. We have just, we've finished it, our date closed, and we are in the process. We copied the supervisors, so now we ramp it up one more time, where then I used to get involved, but now no longer. But let's give the data that we have. So we have, we sent it out to approximately 1,978 employees. It actually went out to a few more employees, but those employees, some are on FMLA leave, and we don't count those, and some were retirees who are on our active list, but they aren't really, working now. So this is really the group that should have gotten it. And as you see, we've had a really good response rate. Right now, we have 258 employees who have not responded. And so our process now is we will be contacting those employees. HR will now contact those employees, give them a short period of time in which to comply. And if they don't, then we move to the final stage, which is having a meeting with either the employee if they're exempt or support non-exempt, or with the employee and their union. And I'm happy to say that we have never had to get to this step, that usually people just have forgotten, they don't remember how to get on it anymore, there's just, that kind of confusion. But I've never had anyone, once I sent them an email, that just, we had to go to the next level. And a lot of times if it's a union employee, we work with our union, we ask our union representatives, can you, help us with that? And they've been just really great doing that. So that's, the rest of this is just sort of definitional to tell you, how we kind of look at it. We try to make sure, we do make sure, not try to, we don't have any direct reports. We have some, as you see, upstream, they may be down below and they report to somebody else who reports to somebody who's a relative, or vice versa. But that's it. So basically, really, that's it.
That's the process. All right, great. Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Pitts?
I think Dr. Roby wanted me to just,
sure.
Just to say that we have also sent out, you may hear employees, we sent out what we call our GCN videos. And those are the ones that we do GCNs every other year. And this is the year in which we send it out. And these are our high-level trainings. Every employee has to take training on bloodborne pathogens. That's the law. Ethics and boundaries for school employees, which is very important. That links into so that we can prevent things like grooming, sexual harassment. We do Title IX and FERPA. And we also send out our staff advisories, which are members of the policy committee will be very happy about, because every year when we do nepotism, we also do staff advisories, and that's where we highlight some of the important policies that employees need to know about, so that we know everybody is responsible for knowing all policies, but there's some that are really more important than others for employees, and so we remind them of those. Confidentiality, staff conduct and behavior, conflict of interest, those types of policies. And so we do a very similar process with following up to ensure that employees have completed the information to say that they've read the staff advisory. So when we do the nepotism follow-up, we also follow up on the staff advisories. Okay, any other questions?
Questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Betts.
Thank you.
All right, my final part of my report, Mr. Helmholtz has a special introduction, and then he'll also follow up with our strategic planning update.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Roby, President Shockey, members of the board. It is great pleasure to introduce our new CEO, President of the Grand Rapids Public School Foundation, Ms. Stephanie Adams, 1994 Ottawa Hills graduate, got GRPS in the blood. She's been working in nonprofit for more than 15 years. I've had the privilege of working with her in her Salvation Army role, maybe a little bit with WMCAT and the Friends of GR Parks, where she's been for the last few years and has helped take Friends of Grand Rapids Parks to the next level. And she's getting ready to do that for us, and she starts next Wednesday. So please join me in welcoming Stephanie Adams as the new President and CEO.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm so thrilled to be here. It was interesting listening about nepotism. I don't have any family members that work for the system, but I do have a lot of brothers and sisters that I graduated with. One of them, Melvin Atkins. If you guys want to hear stories about his bowling or baseball career, I'll be here afterwards to talk about that. No, but seriously, I have been a part of this city my whole life and grew up in Eldra Heights. Went to Ottawa Hills. I have also, my parents were divorced when I was young, so I got the chance to go to Westwood Middle School and Ken O'Shea and Brookside. So I've been a part of a lot of different schools across the city. I think that my background and what I bring to this position will be really fruitful. I'm so excited about taking the foundation to the next level. I really believe that great cities have a great public school system. I can think of so many things that teachers from my high school career, Mrs. Gillespie, Mr. Peters, Mr. Williams, really instilled in me. The programs that I was a part of, the opportunity to be a part of forensics and the swim team, and to go to Close Up in Washington, D.C., are all opportunities I want to see all of the kids of GRPS have an opportunity to be a part of. I love when I go to meetings across the city of Grand Rapids and see GRPS students represented there. I hope to see a junior board for the foundation made up of GRPS students. I hope to continue to expand the alumni program that we have with the foundation. I want to take what we have to the next level. I was able to do so much with Friends of Grand Rapids Parks, and I really see a similar kind of transition to what's going to happen for the foundation. I want to share that one of the things that I'm most excited about is what is coming up this next year. It starts with Mindshare, but it continues through Turkey Trot and all the things that come next year. And I hope to meet with every single one of you in a one-on-one meeting to talk about what your dreams for this community are, the legacy that you want to leave as a board member, and what we can do together to continue to raise the bar for our scholars in our city. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, anyone? Go ahead, Dr. Baker.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I know your work from the parks especially, and I just watched that, shifting that organization to the breadth of the entire city, your equity work, the people, it's just so fantastic. I was so excited because I think that that's that's this work. And so just really excited about you being here. I do have one quick question, though, and either you or Mr. Helmholt can answer this, or Dr. Roby. Could someone explain what is the relationship of the GRPS Foundation to Grand Rapids Public Schools? Because I get that question, and I thought this would be a good time for someone to explain it for the broader public.
You know what is so great, Dr. Baker, that you asked that question? Because when I took over Friends of Grand Rapids Parks, Mr. Humboldt asked me that same question of what was the relationship between Friends of Grand Rapids Parks and the Parks Department. And I will tell you, no, and you know what? We're going to uncover that, and we're going to do a strategic plan that's going to follow along with the GRPS strategic plan, and we are going to define that in a whole new way. But what I really see is a partnership of fundraising to create all of the opportunities that we can for kids of GRPS. That's my short answer, but I'll have a longer one for you, probably in 6 months.
Well, and just that they are the exclusive fundraising partner for Grand Rapids Public Schools. They are an independent 501c3 nonprofit fundraising organization, but all the proceeds they raise come directly to support our students in schools. But to Stephanie's point, one of the things we know is there's an awareness issue about the foundation that we need to work on. And that's why I'm particularly excited, because she's got a marketing, PR, media background. So we can kind of tag team a little bit between their communications, social media, access to Alumni Nation, and what we have with our, I don't even know how many, 30,000 followers now on social media. So it's a growth opportunity, one that's part of kind of the next level work that we need to work on.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, welcome. We are just so delighted to have you back in the family. Yeah, it's good to have you.
Yeah,
All
right.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And you've got me next for strategic planning. So we, as you may recall, are kind of in the initiatives phase now. So there are 6 strategic theme teams, say that fast a few times. The 6 strategic theme teams are comprised of approximately 8 to 12 individuals, internal and external. Our friends from the Community Foundation Urban Core Collective worked with us to identify some of those community stakeholders with expertise in the different areas. That's why I thought it was appropriate that Mr. Atkins referenced that one of the priority outcomes is reducing disparity in suspensions. And so part of this is they're taking all the data collected, all the feedback, where people were asked, what specifically do you think we should do for strategic initiatives to reduce the high level of suspensions and the disparity in our suspensions, among many other things. And so those teams are continuing to work. We have a meeting on January 7th where they will be providing a report out to Martha Greenway about what their current findings are. A week later, and this is just getting announced here today, but we will have the public community stakeholder input session that will be on January 13th from 3 to 7 p.m. at GRPS University. This is an open house format, so all 6 team leaders and some of their team members will be separated in different areas within either the cafeteria or the community room. It'll be an opportunity for guests to go and review their recommendations, put feedback, post-it notes, and the goal there is to get additional input as to how we can prioritize those initiatives. There will also be an online stakeholder input, just like we did before, where all of the initiatives will be put out publicly. Individuals who may not be able to attend in person can actually go through each one and provide comments on each one of them. The board, at the end of January, Cabinet will have a presentation, and then right now, tentatively, we're scheduled to bring the presentation to you on your first board meeting on Monday on February 7th. And that's all I have for strategic plan updates. Are there any questions?
Right. Exciting stuff. Thank you, Mr. Helmholtz.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move forward into our action items. The first one this evening is our superintendent's evaluation, and I will hand it over to our Vice President, Mrs. Williams.
Thank you very much. We've had an opportunity to review the characteristics as required by the state with regards to the superintendent's evaluation. So I would like to put a motion on the floor to accept the highly effective rating for the superintendent's evaluation for 2021.
So moved.
Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant? Yes. Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful, thank you, and congratulations, Dr. Roby, on your highly effective rating. All right, our next action item is our resolution approving the ratification of the Grand Rapids Education Association contract. Do we have any discussion or questions? We can invite Mr. Oberst up if so. Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Support.
Great. Discussion or questions? I asked that already, I think. So, Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is our purchasing agenda, and I need to ask for a motion to amend the purchasing agenda. We're going to amend the purchasing agenda to exclude one item, and I will ask Ms. Davis to give some background on this item.
Yes, so I am disclosing tonight that I do have a family member that has a financial interest in part of the purchasing agenda. It's line item 3A2. And per our bylaws, I need to notify the board of that, and I will recuse myself from the vote, but we have to wait 7 days. So it needs to be moved to the next meeting.
Yes, so just to be clear, we are going to request a motion to amend the purchasing agenda to remove item 3A2, design of air conditioning and ventilation systems to install in 7 buildings. And the vendor there is Fishbeck, Thompson, Carr, and Huber. So may I please have a motion for that amendment?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Just by way of background on this board policy, so if a board member, family member, or household member's financial interest in the contract or financial transaction exceeds $5,000, the board member must disclose the financial interest in the contract or financial transaction at a board meeting. And the board may not vote on the contract or financial transaction until a subsequent board meeting convened no sooner than 7 calendar days after the meeting at which the disclosure was made. So the next action item I will request is that we table the vote for this particular purchasing item agenda for 7 days to be brought back to the board at the work session next week. So I may please have a motion to table this particular agenda item.
So moved.
Support.
All right, Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. And then to wrap up the purchasing agenda, we'll now vote to approve the purchasing agenda, now minus that item. So if I can please have a motion to approve the remainder of our purchasing agenda this evening.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussions or questions about the remainder of the purchasing agenda? Okay, Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Davis, for letting us know. All right, our next action item is our annual summer school property tax resolution for 2022. Any discussion or questions about this resolution? If not, may I please have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve the school property tax resolution?
Support.
Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams? Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Our final action item this evening is our banking and investment resolution. If I remember correctly from finance, there are no changes in our banking relationships this year, so it's simply a renewal. Any questions or discussion? All right, may I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Support.
Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And next, we have our consent agenda grouping. Any discussion or questions?
Approve the consent agenda?
Support.
Ms. Lewis, please call the roll.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
President Shockey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Just a few announcements tonight under our discussion items. A reminder to my board colleagues that we will be meeting next week, Monday, December 13, for our board work session. This will be the final convening of the Board of Education in 2021. So we'll meet here at 5:30 p.m. So a reminder that the third Monday of the month, the 20th, is a break. So we will cancel that board meeting on the 20th. And then we will reconvene in the new year on Monday, January 3rd for our annual organizational meeting at 6:30 p.m. All right, so we'll move on to public comment for non-agenda items. We're just going to quickly take a moment to see if we have any additional, and then we'll move into that. Well, I know we have one for sure, so while we're waiting, Ms. Lewis, do you want to read the
Yes.
protocol? Thank you.
If there is anyone present who is interested in giving public comment, there are 2 public comment sections in our agenda. The first one is public comment for board agenda items. Agendas are located on the comment cards. And the second opportunity is for commenting on non-agenda items. Please also read through our policy listed on the reverse side of the card for protocol. Please submit your card in the public comment bin, and our board assistant will collect them and bring them to my desk. Individuals will be called to the speaker table one at a time to address the board during the subsequent public comment time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. You will need to state your full name before providing your comment. We will then start the timer at the beginning of your public comment and provide you with a 1-minute notice indicating 1 minute remains of your time. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified the 3 minutes have passed. Board members do not respond to the public comments. Concerns will be brought to the attention of appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lewis. We have one comment this evening, and it's my pleasure to welcome forward Jen Migalski. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. I'm going to talk fast because I have a lot to say.
Very good.
I'm Jen Migalski, 5th grade teacher at Burton Elementary. I've been employed with GRPS for 20 years, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of like-minded teachers and parents who don't know differently than what they hear on TV or read in the news. We teach our children that when they see something, they need to say something, and I teach my students to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Today, I'm saying something about what I see as a problem, and I hope to set an example by being part of the solution. I want a positive change and a restored pride in GRPS. On Thursday, December 2nd, I, along with many other GRPS teachers, read the Wood TV article in which our security chief, Larry Johnson, shared about active shooter trainings. For many of us, that was the first time we had heard that term, active shooter training. The article stated that trainings are held every Tuesday. I was baffled because I had never heard about these trainings. During my wellness day on Friday, I emailed Mr. Johnson for clarification, and he kindly shared that the trainings have been going on for 15 years. In 15 years, how is it that these trainings have never been pushed, promoted, or put on an agenda? So I went back to my emails to check, and after searching, I found one from Synovia Buchanan with the subject monthly trainings. I will be the first to admit that I have a responsibility to read my emails, but in all honesty, I don't review each and every one. I don't know who Synovia Buchanan is, and I'm not usually interested in monthly trainings above and beyond what I already do. So I have never looked at one of these messages until this past Friday evening. The first thing I noticed about the training offerings was that none of the offerings included the words active shooter training. The next thing I noticed was that the sessions are offered Tuesdays during the school day from 10 to 12 and after school from 4 to 6. In addition, there is an option to go on Saturday from 8 to 3. How in the world would any teacher go on a Tuesday from 10 to 12? A 4 to 6 option? Most of us are working after school planning, grading, prepping, calling parents, filling out paperwork, or we're in a PLC, grade level, or committee meeting. Or lately, we spend time cleaning our own rooms.
1 minute.
And on Saturday, I don't think so. The written news article and the piece recorded for Wood TV alluded to the fact that GRPS teachers are trained in active shooter procedures and practice regularly. All too often, the information provided to the community is deceiving in a way that makes it look like GRPS is doing all the right things. I understand that PR is important to our community, but parents need to know that most teachers in GRPS, especially at the elementary level, are not trained in active shooter procedures. We know a code yellow and a code red. If God forbid there was ever an active shooter at my school, would I be chastised for not attending an optional training to learn how to deal with them? The thought of that makes me cringe. In light of the 26 school shooting this year, the tragedy in Oxford, GRPS needs to invest time and money now into high-quality, thoughtful, and mandatory active shooter training. We need professional training by a reputable provider. It should not be an online option where you can click through without reading or listening.
3 minutes.
You'll just conclude your statement, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It can't be during or after the school day or on a Saturday. It needs to be a priority, not an option. We need to have a plan, and we all need to know the plan. We need to practice the plan and be more prepared than we are now, huddled in the corner of our room, praying that the door is actually locked. Teachers are tired of hearing about the things for the first time via Fox News, Wood TV8, or Facebook. Seriously important topics such as this need to be promoted and mandated clearly and consistently. Whenever there is a gap in communications, it casts a shadow on the important work that we all do. I would like to propose that we, a team of teachers, administrators, board members, parents, students, even EMTs and police officers, reassess our teacher training requirements, what, when, and how we do them. Many of the district mandated trainings are not helpful. Teachers know how to teach. We went to college for it. Give us the standards and access to some resources and let us shine.
Ms. Migalski, I do need to cut you off now. Can I ask you just to conclude your statement?
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
trainings that teach me the things I did not learn in college, especially the kind that can prevent tragedies, would be much more helpful. And active shooter training needs to be at the top of the list.
Wonderful.
And
All
I'm
right.
just going to end by saying I saw something, I said something, and now let's do something before it's too late.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, next we have our superintendent comments. Dr. Roby.
I don't have any more comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move forward to board member comments. I'll go to you first, Ms. Davis.
No comment this evening.
All right, thank you.
No more
Dr.
comments,
Baker.
thanks.
All right, Reverend Matias.
Yeah, I just want to thank for public comments, but also to our superintendent with highly effective, and we hope to see more.
All right, Mrs. Williams.
No comment.
All right, thank you. Dr. Flores.
Yeah, just thank you for your service, Dr. Roby. Appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you. Ms. Grant.
No comment.
All right, Ms. Lewis.
No comment.
All right, our meeting is adjourned this evening. Thank you, everyone.